I'm Dr. William Harris, a retired physician who has spent over 40 years working with patients just like you. As I look back on my career, there's one thing that keeps coming to mind, one issue that I witness time and time again, a problem that I fear many of you are dealing with right now. It's something that creeps up on you slowly, something that you might dismiss as just another part of getting older.
But what I'm about to tell you might shock you. It's not just a normal part of aging. It's a silent warning. Imagine this. You're standing in your living room, or maybe you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden, you feel it. Your legs feel heavier, weaker. Maybe it's harder to climb those stairs you used to bound up effortlessly, or perhaps, after standing for a few minutes, you feel that familiar ache, a fatigue that just won't seem to go away. You brush it off, thinking it's just the way things go as you get older. But let me tell you, you're wrong. These symptoms, the shakiness, the tiredness, the sense that your legs just aren't holding up the way they used to, are more than just the effects of age. They are signals. Your body is sending you messages that something deeper is wrong. And if you ignore it, things will only get worse. I've seen it all too many times in my career.
What starts as weakness in the legs can quickly spiral into a loss of independence, frequent falls, and even life-threatening complications. Now, I'm not trying to scare you, I'm here to help. As a doctor, my job was always to make sure my patients understood what was really happening in their bodies, even when they didn't want to face the truth. But here's the thing, ignoring your body's signals could be your biggest mistake. Let's dive into this together. What I'm about to tell you is important. It's something that many of you may be overlooking, but you cannot afford to ignore. Your legs are telling you something, and it's time to listen. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore the 5 hidden reasons why your legs are getting weaker as you age, reasons that may surprise you. And by the end, I'll share some simple, actionable steps you can take right now to rebuild the strength in your legs, restore your independence, and prevent further complications. But before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Do you know the real reason why your legs might be feeling weaker? Could it be something you've been brushing off for years? The truth is, many of us ignore these subtle signs, thinking it's just part of aging. But as a doctor who has seen the effects firsthand, I urge you to stay with me. I'll show you what's really happening inside your body. I understand that the topic of aging and physical decline can be uncomfortable. It's easy to avoid thinking about it, to hope that the problems will just go away. But trust me, ignoring these signs will only lead to more serious consequences down the line. So, if you're ready to understand what's going on with your body and take the necessary steps to regain your strength, I encourage you to stay tuned. Before we go any further, please hit the subscribe button to support this channel and help me continue creating valuable content like this for you. It's my mission to share the knowledge I've gathered over the years, so we can all live healthier, happier lives as we age. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like it and share it with others who may benefit. Now, let's talk about a simple question to get you thinking. Which of the following do you think is the main cause of weakness in the legs after 60? A loss of muscle mass, B, poor circulation. Leave your answer in the comments below, and let's start a conversation. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear what you think. I've been a doctor for over 4 decades, and throughout my career, one thing has always stood out to me, the way we overlook the gradual loss of muscle that comes with age. It's something so subtle, so insidious, that we often don't notice it until it's too late. And let me tell you, ignoring this process can be one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make as you get older. I remember so many patients who came to me in their late 60s or early 70s, complaining of unexplained tiredness, the sensation that their legs just wouldn't hold up the way they used to. They thought it was just normal aging. I'm just getting older, doc, they would say. But what I quickly realized, and what I always explained to them, was that it wasn't just a part of aging. It was something much deeper, something that could have serious consequences if ignored. This gradual weakening of the muscles is called sarcopenia, and it's a silent thief that steals away your strength, your independence, and sometimes even your joy. Sarcopenia is the medical term for muscle loss, but it's more than just losing muscle mass. It's a process that happens gradually over time, often starting as early as our 30s, but it accelerates significantly once we hit 60. The shocking truth is that if you don't take steps to counteract it, you can lose up to 30% of your muscle mass by the time you reach 80. Think about that for a moment. In your 70s, you could be walking around with a fraction of the muscle mass you had in your youth, and it's no wonder you're feeling weaker, more fatigued, and even more prone to injury. I've seen this firsthand in my practice. A once vibrant woman in her 60s comes in complaining of tired legs and difficulty climbing stairs. "It just seems like I don't have the energy I used to," she says. And when I examine her, I see the telltale signs: thinner thighs and calves, and the unmistakable weakness in her muscles. This is sarcopenia at work. The muscles she once relied on to carry her through daily activities have gradually weakened over the years, and now they're struggling to support her in simple tasks. But here's the thing, it's not just about feeling tired or weak. The consequences of muscle loss go far beyond that. When your muscles are weaker, it affects everything: your balance, your posture, your ability to move with confidence. Simple tasks become exhausting, and more importantly, you become more prone to accidents. You trip, you fall, and because your muscles aren't as strong as they used to be, your body doesn't have the support it needs to protect itself. This is where sarcopenia can turn into something much more dangerous: a loss of independence. I've seen this happen countless times. People who used to be active, social, and independent slowly retreat into themselves because they're afraid of falling or because they just don't have the strength to do the things they once enjoyed. I remember one patient in particular, a man in his early 70s, who loved to go for walks in the park every morning. But over time, he noticed he was feeling more winded, his legs ached more, and he found himself sitting on the park bench more than walking. He began to withdraw from social activities, becoming more isolated. The loneliness and depression that followed only made his condition worse. The cycle of weakness, inactivity, and emotional decline can take a significant toll. Now, I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to help you understand what's happening to your body and, more importantly, what you can do to fight back. Sarcopenia is not something you have to accept. In fact, you can slow down, or even reverse, the effects of muscle loss with simple, consistent steps. The key is to start early. Even if you're in your 60s or 70s, it's never too late to take action. One of the most effective ways to combat sarcopenia is through strength training. I know, when you think of strength training, you probably picture heavy weights, gym memberships, and long, grueling workouts. But that's not what I'm talking about. The good news is that you don't need to be lifting dumbbells or pushing yourself to exhaustion. Simple exercises like chair squats, leg lifts, and resistance band workouts can make a world of difference. These exercises help rebuild the muscle mass that has been lost and strengthen the muscles that still remain. And the best part is, you can do them at home. You don't need fancy equipment or a gym membership. You just need a little time, consistency, and effort. But exercise alone isn't enough. Your diet plays a crucial role in rebuilding muscle. Protein is essential for muscle repair and growth, so make sure you're eating enough protein-rich foods like lean meats, eggs, fish, dairy, nuts, and legumes. These foods help fuel the muscle-building process and provide the nutrients your body needs to repair the damage that has been done over the years. It's also important to stay active throughout the day. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of walking can help keep your muscles engaged and prevent them from weakening further. The idea is to keep moving, to stay as active as possible within your capabilities. The more you move, the stronger your muscles will become. I want to be clear. Sarcopenia doesn't have to be a sentence. Yes, it's a part of the natural aging process, but it doesn't have to define your later years. By making simple changes to your routine, you can maintain your muscle strength, avoid the debilitating effects of sarcopenia, and live a fuller, more active life. Don't wait for the weakness to take over. Take action now, while you still can. Your muscles and your future depend on it. In my years of practice, I've seen many patients who came in feeling defeated by their aging bodies, but the ones who thrived, the ones who maintained their strength, their energy, and their independence were the ones who took charge. They didn't wait for things to get worse, they did something about it, and you can too. So, my advice to you, as someone who's been there, who's seen the consequences of sarcopenia up close, is this: start today. Build those muscles back, reclaim your strength. You're not too old, and it's never too late. Trust me, I've seen the difference it can make. As a retired physician, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of patients over my long career. Many of them, particularly as they grew older, began to complain of persistent issues that seemed to affect them more and more as time went on. One of the most common and troubling complaints was a feeling of heaviness or coldness in their legs, a sense that something just wasn't right, especially after they'd been standing for a while. "Doc, my legs just don't feel right," they'd say. "They're cold, they tingle, or they cramp up when I walk." At first, many of these patients brushed it off as simply a part of getting older. But as a doctor, I knew this wasn't something to take lightly. What they were experiencing was often the early stages of something far more serious: peripheral artery disease, or PAD. PAD is a condition where the blood vessels that carry blood to your legs become narrowed or blocked due to plaque buildup, a process called atherosclerosis. Over time, this restricts the flow of oxygen-rich blood to your legs and feet, causing them to feel weak, cold, or even numb. It's easy to dismiss these symptoms as simple aging, but I've learned over the years that doing so can lead to dangerous consequences. The truth is, poor circulation is a silent threat that can have far-reaching effects on your health, and if left unchecked, it can lead to complications like slow-healing wounds, infections, and even life-threatening conditions like heart disease or stroke. Let me take you back to one of the first cases I encountered in my career. A patient, an older man named Thomas, came into my office one morning, looking more fatigued than usual. He was in his late 60s and had been an active man most of his life. He enjoyed walking every day and was generally in good health, but lately he'd been complaining of leg pain and heaviness that seemed to get worse every time he stood for more than a few minutes. When I examined him, I noticed his legs were cooler to the touch than normal, and there was a noticeable weakness in his calves. He said that walking around the block, something he had done with ease just a year ago, now left him exhausted and in pain. This wasn't just a sign of aging, it was a sign that the blood flow to his legs was being compromised. You see, PAD doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow and gradual process, often developing over many years. It's like a silent thief, quietly stealing the blood and oxygen your muscles need to function. The problem starts with plaque buildup in the arteries, which is often caused by a combination of factors like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, and even diabetes. Over time, these factors cause the arteries to harden and narrow, reducing the flow of blood. And as you might imagine, when the muscles in your legs don't get enough blood, they start to weaken, and the pain sets in. What Thomas didn't realize at the time was that his symptoms were not just about the pain he was feeling. They were a warning sign, a red flag that his body was sending him, trying to tell him that something was wrong. But Thomas wasn't alone. I've seen this scenario play out over and over again in my practice. The first sign of PAD is often a feeling of heaviness or coldness in the legs. Your legs might cramp up after walking for even short distances, or you may feel an aching pain in your calves that seems to improve once you sit down. These are all signs that your arteries are starting to narrow, and blood isn't flowing as freely as it should. But here's the thing: PAD is not just a problem in the legs. It's a condition that affects the entire cardiovascular system. If left untreated, PAD can lead to more serious complications. For example, when blood flow to the legs is reduced, wounds or injuries in the legs can take longer to heal. This puts you at an increased risk for infections, which, in severe cases, can lead to amputation. That's the terrifying reality of untreated PAD, but it doesn't stop there. PAD also increases your risk of heart disease and stroke. If your arteries are clogged in one part of your body, they're likely clogged elsewhere, including in the heart and brain. It's not just about the legs, it's about the health of your entire body. So what can you do to prevent PAD from getting worse? The good news is that PAD is treatable, especially if caught early. The key is to address the underlying causes of the condition, things like poor circulation, plaque buildup, and high cholesterol, and make lifestyle changes to reverse or at least slow down the damage. In my experience, one of the most effective ways to improve circulation is through exercise. Now, I know that may sound like an obvious solution, but hear me out. Walking, for instance, is one of the best ways to promote blood flow and strengthen the muscles in your legs. Even if you're not able to walk for long periods, just getting outside and moving your legs for 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a significant difference. Hydration is also key. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, making it harder for it to circulate through your body. Drinking plenty of water throughout the day helps thin your blood and supports healthy circulation. And let's not forget about diet. Eating a healthy, balanced diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins helps reduce the buildup of plaque in your arteries. Avoiding processed foods and cutting back on salt can also help prevent further damage to your arteries. But perhaps most importantly, if you suspect you have PAD, don't ignore it. See your doctor, get tested, and take the necessary steps to manage the condition. PAD is a progressive disease, and the sooner you take action, the better your chances of preventing severe complications. For Thomas, it was a wake-up call. Once we diagnosed him with PAD, he began making lifestyle changes, incorporating more walking into his daily routine, improving his diet, and managing his cholesterol. Slowly but surely, his symptoms improved. He could walk longer distances without pain, and the heaviness in his legs began to subside. He was able to regain a sense of control over his health, something that had seemed out of reach just months before. If you're experiencing any of the symptoms I've described, leg pain, heaviness, cramping, or coldness, don't brush them off. Take them seriously. Your body is telling you something, and it's up to you to listen. PAD may be a common issue among older adults, but it doesn't have to define your life. With the right treatment and lifestyle changes, you can regain your strength and keep moving forward with confidence. I've seen what PAD can do when it's left untreated, and I've seen the positive outcomes that can come from taking action early. Don't wait until it's too late. Your health is in your hands, and it's never too late to make a change. As a retired physician, I have spent much of my life observing how the human body changes over time, how it ages, and how we often miss the signs that something important is happening underneath the surface. One of the most insidious and often overlooked conditions I encountered in my practice is nerve damage, specifically peripheral neuropathy. I can recall many patients who came to me with a strange, vague sense that something wasn't right. They described symptoms that were subtle at first, tingling, numbness, or a burning sensation in their feet or legs. "It feels like my feet are asleep all the time," one patient, a man in his early 70s, said to me. "And sometimes it feels like I'm walking on a sponge or something soft." At first, these complaints might seem harmless or, at worst, like a normal part of getting older, but I knew better. Peripheral neuropathy, the condition that causes these symptoms, is far more than just an inconvenience. It's a warning sign that the nerves in the body, which play a crucial role in our movement, sensation, and balance, are being damaged. And once those nerves are damaged, the consequences can be severe. It's not just the discomfort of tingling or numbness. It's the risk of losing your ability to walk safely, to maintain balance, and, ultimately, to stay independent. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I treated, Clara, who had diabetes for over 15 years. She was in her late 60s when she first came to me, complaining of a persistent burning sensation in her feet. At first, she thought it was just from standing too long on hard floors or maybe the result of her shoes, but the symptoms began to get worse. Soon, she felt like her feet were numb all the time, and it was harder for her to walk without tripping. When I examined her, I could see the telltale signs of neuropathy, the reduced sensation in her feet, the loss of reflexes, and the weakness in her legs. What Clara didn't realize, and what I had to explain to her, was that neuropathy, or nerve damage, happens slowly over time. In Clara's case, her diabetes had been damaging the nerves in her legs and feet, particularly the sensory nerves, which are responsible for feeling and sensation. But what Clara didn't know was that these symptoms weren't just annoying, they were a red flag. They were a warning that her condition could get worse if not treated properly. Over time, the nerve damage could progress to the point where she couldn't feel her feet at all, leaving her at risk of falls and injuries. And worse, if the nerves in her legs and feet weren't functioning properly, she wouldn't be able to trust her balance or the stability of her legs. This could lead to serious accidents and loss of independence. As a doctor, I've seen this kind of nerve damage time and time again. It's especially common in people with diabetes, but it can also be caused by vitamin deficiencies, alcohol abuse, and other conditions. The longer nerve damage goes untreated, the more severe the consequences become. If you wait too long, it's not just the sensation in your legs that's at risk, it's your ability to walk and move safely. It's your quality of life. What makes peripheral neuropathy particularly dangerous is that it often starts off so subtly. You might not even notice it until it's too late. Maybe you're getting used to the occasional tingling in your toes, or maybe your legs feel heavier than they used to. Perhaps, like Clara, you think it's just a part of getting older, or maybe you write it off as nothing serious. But over time, these subtle symptoms can worsen, and that's when the real trouble begins. I've seen many patients, like Clara, who were shocked when I explained that their nerve damage was the result of their diabetes or other conditions they hadn't fully addressed. It's easy to think that if the symptoms are mild, they're not worth worrying about. But let me tell you, if you notice even small changes in sensation, tingling, numbness, or burning in your feet or legs, it's critical to take them seriously. Those small symptoms can be the early signs of a larger, more debilitating problem. So, what can be done about it? First and foremost, don't ignore the symptoms. The sooner you address nerve damage, the better your chances of slowing its progression or even reversing it. In Clara's case, we worked together to better manage her diabetes and focus on improving her circulation. We also made sure she was getting enough of the essential vitamins, especially vitamin B12, which is critical for nerve health. We worked on improving her posture and balance to reduce the risk of falls, and I recommended a program of gentle exercises to improve her leg strength. But it's not just about managing underlying conditions like diabetes. It's also about taking care of your nerves and your body as a whole. Eating a balanced diet with plenty of B12-rich foods like eggs, dairy, and leafy greens is essential for nerve health. Vitamin B12 helps your nerves function properly, and when you're deficient, your nerves can begin to deteriorate. Avoiding excessive alcohol, which can also damage nerves, is another crucial step. Keeping your blood sugar levels stable through diet and exercise can prevent further nerve damage in people with diabetes. And then there's exercise. Regular, gentle movement is one of the best things you can do for your nerves and overall health. For those with neuropathy, walking, stretching, or even just standing up and moving around a few times a day can help improve circulation to the legs and feet. When nerves are damaged, they can sometimes feel like they're falling asleep or shutting down, but gentle exercise stimulates the nerves and encourages better function. It's like waking them up. The reality is, neuropathy is not something you can afford to ignore. If you let it go untreated, it can cause permanent damage to your nerves and muscles, leading to a loss of balance, independence, and, in the worst cases, even amputation. But it doesn't have to get to that point. With early detection and proper care, you can protect your nerves and regain the feeling and strength in your legs. In Clara's case, we caught it early enough to make a real difference. Her symptoms improved over time with the right treatment and lifestyle changes. She was able to walk longer distances again, without the fear of tripping or falling. She was able to live a more active life, which was something she never thought possible when she first came to me. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And let me tell you, it's never too late to take charge of your health. So, if you're experiencing any of the symptoms of neuropathy, tingling, numbness, burning, or weakness, don't wait. Speak to your doctor, take action, and get the treatment you need. Your nerves, your legs, and your future depend on it. Take control now, before it's too late. As a retired physician with over 40 years of experience, I've seen the toll that spinal problems can take on a person's life. The spine, often referred to as the body's backbone, is not just a structural support, it's the very foundation of how we move, how we stand, and how we function in our daily lives. And yet, It's so easy to forget how critical it is to our well-being until something goes wrong. Spinal issues, particularly sciatica and herniated discs, are some of the most common and debilitating problems I encountered during my years of practice. I remember one particular patient, Frank, a man in his mid-60s, who came to see me after months of persistent pain in his lower back and legs. He'd been feeling off for a while, but he kept pushing through it, telling himself that it was just a part of getting older. But over time, the pain worsened, radiating down his legs, making it harder for him to walk, sit, or even stand for long periods. Frank was a proud man, never one to complain, but the look of exhaustion on his face told me everything I needed to know. His condition wasn't just hurting him physically, it was affecting his ability to live his life. At first, Frank assumed it was just the usual aches and pains that come with aging. But after examining him and reviewing his symptoms, I quickly suspected something more serious. Sciatica, a condition caused by irritation or compression of the sciatic nerve, which runs from the lower back down the legs. The pain that Frank was experiencing wasn't just from overuse or bad posture. It was caused by a specific problem in his spine, a herniated disc. A herniated disc occurs when the soft cushion of tissue between the bones of the spine slips out of place and presses against nearby nerves. This can lead to intense pain, numbness, and weakness in the legs, and, in severe cases, it can even lead to a loss of bladder or bowel control. For Frank, the pain was excruciating, especially when he sat down or tried to bend. He couldn't understand how such a simple movement could bring so much discomfort. What Frank didn't realize was that the nerves in his spine were being pinched, sending a constant signal of pain and discomfort to his legs. But it wasn't just the physical pain that was troubling Frank. As his symptoms worsened, he began to feel a growing sense of helplessness. He found it harder and harder to do things he once loved, like gardening and walking with his wife. He had always prided himself on being active and independent, but now simple tasks became overwhelming. His pain and limited mobility left him feeling isolated and frustrated. It wasn't just about the physical discomfort anymore. It was about the impact on his quality of life. Frank's story is not unique. I've seen it countless times in my career. Spinal problems, particularly sciatica and herniated discs, are far more common than most people realize, especially as we age. The spine is constantly under strain from everyday activities, and over time, the wear and tear can lead to serious problems. But the thing that many people don't understand is just how much these issues can affect other aspects of their health. The spine is not just about the back, it's connected to everything. When something goes wrong with the spine, it can affect everything from your ability to walk and stand to your posture, balance, and overall energy levels. In Frank's case, his herniated disc was compressing the sciatic nerve, which led to pain radiating down his leg, a common symptom of sciatica. This is the hallmark of a pinched nerve, sharp, shooting pain that can be debilitating. But what people don't always realize is that sciatica isn't just about pain, it's also about weakness. When the nerves are compressed or irritated, the muscles they control become weaker. In Frank's case, his calf muscles began to feel weak, and his ability to bear weight on his leg diminished. This wasn't just about discomfort anymore. It was affecting his ability to stand and walk properly, making him more prone to falls and further injury. The problem with sciatica and herniated discs is that they don't always show clear, obvious symptoms right away. It starts subtly, a little pain in the lower back, a slight numbness in the legs, or perhaps some stiffness. But over time, if left untreated, the problem can grow worse, leading to much more severe symptoms, including chronic pain, limited mobility, and permanent nerve damage. If you're reading this and thinking, I've been dealing with similar symptoms, you're not alone. Spinal issues are a part of life as we age, but that doesn't mean we have to accept them as inevitable. I've worked with many patients who were able to manage their spinal conditions successfully and regain their independence through a combination of treatment, physical therapy, and lifestyle changes. When it comes to treating sciatica and herniated discs, the first step is to understand what's going on. A thorough evaluation by a doctor can help pinpoint the source of the pain and determine the best course of action. For Frank, We used a combination of treatments, including physical therapy, pain management, and lifestyle modifications. It's important to strengthen the muscles surrounding the spine to provide more support and alleviate pressure on the nerves. Stretching exercises, especially those that focus on the lower back and legs, can help relieve tension and improve mobility. But perhaps most importantly, maintaining good posture and avoiding movements that put too much strain on the spine is crucial. In addition to physical therapy, I always stress the importance of staying active. It may sound counterintuitive when you're dealing with back pain, but regular movement is essential for spinal health. For Frank, this meant gradually incorporating light walking into his routine, along with gentle stretching exercises. Over time, his pain subsided, his strength improved, and he regained the confidence to move freely again. I've seen firsthand how powerful the right treatment can be when it comes to spinal problems. I've watched patients like Frank go from being bedridden by pain to walking comfortably again. I've seen people regain control of their lives, their independence, and their happiness simply by taking action and committing to their recovery. If you're struggling with spinal pain, sciatica, or a herniated disc, don't wait. The sooner you seek help, the sooner you can start feeling better. You don't have to live with constant pain or the fear of falling. With the right treatment and dedication, you can reclaim your health and live the life you deserve. Remember, the spine is the foundation of your body. Take care of it, and it will take care of you. As a retired physician with many decades of experience, I've come to understand that sometimes the most profound health issues are the ones that seem the least obvious at first. One of the most subtle yet impactful problems I encountered in my career was electrolyte imbalance, particularly deficiencies in magnesium and potassium. These two minerals are essential for the proper function of muscles and nerves, but their deficiency often goes unnoticed until symptoms become more severe. As I look back, I realize how many patients came into my office feeling weak, fatigued, or cramping, only for me to discover that their symptoms were linked to something as simple, yet profound, as a lack of these critical minerals. Let me tell you about one patient, Sarah, a woman in her early 70s who had always been relatively healthy. She came to me complaining about frequent muscle cramps, especially in her legs, and a sense of overwhelming fatigue that seemed to have taken over her daily life. "Doc, I feel like I can't walk as far as I used to," she said. "And at night, my legs cramp up so badly, I can hardly sleep." Like many people, Sarah chalked it up to aging, thinking that these issues were simply part of getting older. But when I examined her, I could see that there was something more going on. As a doctor, I knew that muscle cramps and fatigue can often be attributed to electrolyte imbalances, and magnesium and potassium deficiencies were often the culprits. Sarah's case wasn't an isolated one. I'd seen these symptoms before, especially in older adults. What many people don't realize is that these seemingly mild symptoms, muscle cramps, weakness, fatigue, and even irregular heartbeats, can be early signs of magnesium or potassium deficiencies. These minerals are vital for muscle function, nerve transmission, and maintaining a stable heartbeat. When they're low, your body struggles to function properly, and the effects can be far-reaching. Magnesium, for example, plays a critical role in muscle contraction and relaxation. It helps regulate the electrical signals that control muscle function, and without it, your muscles can become tight, cramp, or twitch uncontrollably. Potassium, on the other hand, is essential for maintaining proper fluid balance and supporting healthy nerve function. When your potassium levels drop, you might experience weakness, fatigue, and in some cases, irregular heart rhythms. These two minerals work hand in hand to keep your body functioning smoothly, but as we age, the ability to absorb and maintain adequate levels of magnesium and potassium decreases. What Sarah didn't know, and what I had to explain to her, was that her body's inability to maintain the proper levels of these electrolytes was causing the issues she was facing. The muscle cramps she felt were a direct result of magnesium deficiency. Her fatigue was linked to both magnesium and potassium deficiencies, which were affecting her body's ability to produce the energy needed for everyday activities. I explained that these problems weren't just annoying, they were warning signs that her body was struggling. As I sat down with Sarah, I asked her about her diet. She admitted that while she ate fairly well, she didn't pay much attention to foods that are high in magnesium and potassium. She drank plenty of coffee, which is known to deplete magnesium, and didn't eat many foods like bananas, leafy greens, or nuts, which are rich in potassium and magnesium. I could see that her diet was contributing to her imbalances, but it wasn't just her diet, her lifestyle also played a role. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at conserving potassium, and many medications, especially diuretics and blood pressure pills, can further deplete magnesium and potassium levels. It was clear to me that if Sarah continued down this path, her symptoms would only get worse. But I also knew that with the right changes, she could improve her condition significantly. I recommended that she increase her intake of magnesium-rich foods like almonds, spinach, and dark chocolate, and potassium-rich foods such as bananas, avocados, and sweet potatoes. I also advised her to drink more water and reduce her coffee intake, as caffeine can further deplete magnesium. Additionally, I encouraged her to start taking a magnesium supplement to help restore the balance in her body. I also recommended gentle exercises to help her muscles stay flexible and strong. Stretching, walking, and light resistance exercises can help improve circulation, reduce muscle cramps, and increase energy. In Sarah's case, we also monitored her blood pressure and kidney function closely to ensure that her medications weren't contributing to the imbalance. Within a few weeks, Sarah reported feeling better. The cramps in her legs began to subside, and her energy levels started to improve. She was able to walk further without feeling exhausted, and most importantly, she began to sleep better at night. The changes were subtle at first, but over time, they made a significant difference in her quality of life. What Sarah's experience reminded me of, and what I want to share with you, is that electrolyte imbalances, particularly magnesium and potassium deficiencies, are often overlooked but can have a profound impact on your health. The symptoms may seem minor at first, a little fatigue, a bit of cramping, or even a slight dizziness, but they are signs that your body is in need of support. If left unaddressed, these imbalances can lead to more serious problems, such as heart arrhythmias, muscle weakness, and chronic fatigue. I cannot stress enough how important it is to pay attention to these signals your body is giving you. As we age, our bodies need more care and attention to maintain the balance of essential nutrients. Electrolytes like magnesium and potassium are just as important as any vitamin or mineral, and they play a crucial role in how we feel and function on a daily basis. If you are experiencing any of the symptoms I've described, muscle cramps, fatigue, irregular heartbeats, or weakness, it's worth checking your magnesium and potassium levels. And don't wait until it's too late. With the right changes to your diet and lifestyle, you can prevent these deficiencies from affecting your quality of life. I've seen firsthand the dramatic improvement that comes from addressing electrolyte imbalances. People who were once plagued by fatigue and cramps found renewed energy and vitality just by replenishing these essential minerals. It doesn't take much to make a difference, but it does require a commitment to your health and well-being. Start by eating foods rich in magnesium and potassium, staying hydrated, and avoiding excessive caffeine and alcohol. Your body will thank you for it, and you'll feel better in ways you never thought possible. Sarah's story isn't unique. I've helped many patients just like her, and I've seen the same results time and time again. With a little attention to your body's needs, you can regain your strength, energy, and vitality. Don't let an electrolyte imbalance take away your ability to live your life to the fullest. Take control, make the necessary changes, and you'll be amazed at how much better you feel. As a retired physician who has spent many years treating patients, I've seen it all: the subtle signs of aging, the quiet way in which strength fades, and the gradual loss of independence that can follow. And while many of these changes are part of getting older, I've come to realize something very important. You don't have to accept weakness as an inevitable part of aging. If there's one thing I've learned in my long career, it's that there's always something you can do to improve your health, to regain your strength, and to reclaim your life. If you're willing to take action, you can rebuild your leg strength and, in many cases, reverse the effects of the weaknesses that often come with age. I remember one patient in particular, Harold, a man in his late 70s who came to see me after months of struggling with leg weakness and a growing sense of fatigue. For years, Harold had been an active man, enjoying walks, gardening, and even taking the stairs 2 at a time. But one day, he started noticing that his legs were no longer as reliable as they used to be. Climbing the stairs became a challenge, and walking even short distances left him winded and exhausted. His energy dwindled, and he found himself sitting more, moving less, and growing frustrated by the limitations he felt. Like many others, Harold chalked it up to getting older, but I could see something more at play. It wasn't just aging. It was the result of years of muscle loss and inactivity that had slowly taken root. When Harold came to see me, I knew we had to act quickly. The first thing I did was reassure him that it wasn't too late to make a change. In fact, it was the perfect time to start. Too many people simply accept the idea that as they age, they must accept a life of weakness and limited mobility. But that's not the case. By addressing the root causes of leg weakness, whether it's muscle loss, poor circulation, nerve damage, or simply lack of movement, you can take control of your health again. Harold and I set to work on a plan. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew it would be worth it. We started with simple exercises designed to rebuild his strength and restore his mobility. Many people believe that rebuilding strength means lifting heavy weights or doing intense workouts, but that's not the case. The first step is always to start slow and steady, with exercises that are easy on the body but effective in getting things moving again. For Harold, we began with gentle chair squats, simple leg lifts, and ankle circles. These movements engaged his leg muscles without overwhelming his body, and over time, they helped him rebuild strength that he thought had been lost forever. It wasn't just about the exercises, though. I emphasized the importance of movement in every aspect of his day. I encouraged Harold to walk every day, even if it was just for 10 or 15 minutes. It didn't matter how far he went, what mattered was that he kept moving. Walking is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to engage and strengthen the muscles in the legs. Each step helps improve circulation, builds muscle endurance, and keeps the body in motion. Harold started with short walks around his neighborhood, then gradually worked up to longer distances. Each day, he felt a little stronger, a little more confident, and more willing to push himself further. But exercise alone isn't enough. Nutrition plays a crucial role in rebuilding strength, especially when it comes to muscle repair. I've seen too many patients overlook the importance of a proper diet when it comes to restoring their strength. For Harold, I recommended increasing his intake of lean proteins, which are essential for muscle growth and repair. Foods like chicken, turkey, eggs, fish, and legumes provide the building blocks his body needed to rebuild muscle. I also encouraged him to eat foods rich in magnesium and potassium, which are essential for muscle function and preventing cramps. These minerals help the muscles contract and relax properly, preventing fatigue and muscle strain. He was a little hesitant at first, but once he started paying attention to his diet, he noticed a significant difference in his energy levels and overall strength. I also made sure to emphasize hydration. Dehydration can have a serious impact on your muscles, and as we age, our bodies become less efficient at retaining water. Drinking enough water each day is crucial for maintaining muscle function and preventing cramping. I recommended that Harold aim for at least 8 cups of water a day, and he quickly noticed that his legs felt less heavy and fatigued after staying hydrated. As the weeks went by, Harold began to feel the results. He could walk longer distances without feeling winded. He was able to climb the stairs without stopping to rest halfway up. And perhaps most importantly, he felt a renewed sense of independence. His days of sitting on the sidelines were behind him. Harold had taken control of his health, and his legs were getting stronger every day. But it wasn't just about the physical changes. Over time, Harold's mindset began to shift as well. When we first started working together, he was frustrated and discouraged. He believed that his days of being active and independent were behind him. But as he started to see improvements, his outlook changed. He realized that he wasn't defined by his age or his limitations. He was defined by his willingness to take action, to fight back against the effects of aging, and to keep moving forward. I've seen this same transformation in many patients over the years. It's not just about getting stronger physically. It's about gaining back your independence, your confidence, and your quality of life. It's about proving to yourself that you're not done yet, no matter how old you are. If you're dealing with leg weakness, I want you to know that you don't have to accept it. You can take simple steps right now to start rebuilding your strength. Start by moving, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Focus on exercises that target your leg muscles and keep them engaged. Pay attention to your nutrition, especially your intake of proteins, magnesium, and potassium. And don't forget to stay hydrated. These are the building blocks for restoring your leg strength and regaining your independence. It's never too late to make a change. Whether you're 60, 70, or even 80, your body is capable of incredible things. I've seen people transform their lives by taking small, consistent actions to rebuild their strength. Harold is proof of that, and you can be too. Take that first step today. Reclaim your strength and reclaim your life. You're not done yet. Your journey to a stronger, healthier you starts now.